welcome to the next exciting review on the channel. I'm your host, The Honest Woobat! Today's review is on Pokemon the movie Forever. Or just Pokemon Forever for short. Oh boy, this is really a freaking turnaround from the last movie, Pokemon the movie 3, Spell of the Unknown. Oh boy, we're into some major edits. Well, let's just get this over with. Here we go. So the movie begins with Ash battling some random schmuck, at least on his end. But if you want to go to the true beginning, the movie begins with this hunter. We find out his name is just... what the hell is his name? The Masked Marauder, I believe is what his name is. I don't know, his name's pretty forgettable. The Iron Masked Marauder, there we go. The Iron Masked Marauder. It changes depending on which version that you're watching, dub or sub. So, we find out that he's trying to look for Celebi. Now, who's Celebi, you may ask? Well, Celebi's this cute little fairy thing that's a psychic psychic grass type. And why does he want him? Well, because why does he want him? To control the world, aka, or if you want to start smaller, which is where he's beginning, to control Team Rocket. How does he get this information? Well, he shakes down this old man who was the hunter we see in an earlier flashback, where we see this little boy named Sammy going past his tree with his lady jumping down, telling him, "Hey kid, don't go over there. There's a crazy onion fairy." And he's like, "Nah, man, it's fine. I'm a 10-year-old. This is pretty much run of the mill for me." He stops Houndoom from taking Celebi, and ends up getting sent to the future. And for all everyone knows and cares about, that kid is gone forever. And the Iron Masked Marauder is like, "Hey buddy, check this Pokeball out. I can make this Tyranitar, aka the best pseudo legendary, into a fucking beast." Puts that thing into a dark ball and makes it evil and starts blowing stuff up with a whole bunch of Godzilla references. Meanwhile, back with Ash and Co, they barely managed to get onto a ferry, not the Onion Fairy, mind you, just a regular old boat. And the guy they meet that helped Ash get onto the boat is like, "Hey, you want to check out this cool little forest place that I grew up in?" And they're like, "Yeah, man, that sounds awesome." So there they are, getting on the boat, and he's like, "Hey, remember Pokemon 2000 when the boat flew? Well, here you go. Here the boat flies again. This time with the power of bicycle airplane propeller." So they fly up there. They see the legendary Pokemon Suicune. And they call Professor Oak and they're like, "Hey, old man, we found Suicune. You know, that legendary Pokemon we saw at the start of the Johto journeys? Yeah, that legendary. We saw him again. Here we are, acknowledging continuity, even though this movie isn't canon." And Professor Oak's like, "Yeah, I know about it." Being really obvious in the dub that, "Yeah, I'm Sammy, dumbasses." Hell, they even 4Kids commissioned a scene where after he hangs up, he looks down at his notebook and he's like, "Yo, maybe I should have told them about the fucking time control fairy that'll make a giant stick monster that totally wasn't ripped off from Final Fantasy." So there they go, back to the forest, and who's the guardian of the lady now? It's some girl with a picnic basket. Oh, and her old grandma, who was the lady who told Sammy not to go into the forest, so there was an onion fairy who's gonna kidnap him. Speaking of the onion fairy shows up with Sammy back in the present. And what's the first thing he does after the kid who saved his life? He leaves him there on the altar after Ash and Co go into the forest. So they bring Sammy back and they're like, "Hey, kid, who the hell are you?" And he's like, "What'd you do with Celebi?" Freaking out before he passes out. He wakes up again and the old lady's like, "Hey, I kept your notebook. Here you go. You've been gone for like 50 years. Kid's like, "Oh, wow, I've been gone for so long." And then they're like, "But there's no time to wait now. Onion Fairy, aka Celebi, is waiting at the tree." So after Ash and friends make friends with the Celebi, like they'll do with every single tiny little cute legendary for every movie here onward. That's right, this is the movie that establishes that formula. So they then decide, "Hey, maybe we should figure out a way to get to this place called the lake." So there they are going through the forest, and then freaking out of nowhere, they encounter the Iron Masked Marauder, who's been accompanied by Team Rocket. There they end up getting into a little scuffle, and then they leave. So then the Iron Masked Marauder's like, "Yo, let me just send out a Sneasel and Scizor, and we'll have a double battle that I'm not even a part of." And so we see that this takes place after Bayleaf evolves, and we see that Sammy's using a wind-up Pokeball, an idea that's never explored or explained, which would have been really cool to see, wind-up Pokeballs. I mean, freaking... After that battle, they tie up Scizor and Sneasel, and I'm assuming they just kind of left them there to die. They make it to the lake where they heal up not only Misty's leg, which got hurt earlier, but they also fix up Celebi, who's right as rain now. Then they go for a magical adventure across the sky. Then the Iron Mask Marauder shows up, blows some stuff up, captures Celebi, and Celebi becomes now evil Celebi. Yeah, you'll see this pattern repeated along with this cute little legendary is forced to become evil. Again, this movie establishes everything wrong with that formula. So then, Celebi makes a giant twig monster and starts blowing the forest up. Like he's a frickin' Dragon Ball villain or something like that. Like this is some fucking Pacific Rim looking ass. So Suicune shows up and he's like, hey guys, remember I'm in the movie? Fuck you, Raikou. You'll never get a movie. Ha 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 ha. So he shows up, starts putting in the work, beats up Tyranitar after Brock's Onyx finally puts itself to use and is able to keep Tyranitar toe to toe. Ash and Sam get through to Celebi through the power of friendship after Jessie from Team Rocket had gotten kidnapped as a hostage and was put in a really hentai-looking situation with the whole vines and stuff. They save Celebi, the thing explodes. They try to save Celebi, but then and it turns out Celebi's dead. It's a really sad scene that made everyone cry. 1 second. And so, out of nowhere, a bunch of future Celebis from the past and future all come up, bring Celebi back to life. Celebi comes over to the group, all happy-like, and the Iron Mask Marauder comes out of the water, grabs Celebi, takes off with his jetpack. Ash catches on, has his Pikachu blow up the jetpack. They all crash and fall. The forest Pokemon beat up the Iron Mask Marauder. Celebi is saved, everything's gone, and Celebi takes Sam back into the past. And so Ash and Co. make a phone call to Professor Oak, telling him, hey, check out this time travel adventure we were on. And he's like, oh, that's cool story, bro. I gotta go. So we find out during the end credits that Professor Oak was Sammy, because we see Tracy find a notebook. Sammy's notebook with the same freaking image of Pikachu sleeping right next to Celebi that Sammy has been seen drawing earlier. And that's where Oak got the idea to make the Pokedex from sketching Pokemon in his little notebook. This scene alone was only in the Japanese was also in the Japanese version instead of it being commissioned by 4Kids. So that's the end of the summary. Now on to the positives. The animation's pretty good for this one, especially the parts where 4Kids commissioned, because the animation's a lot more crisper. Tyranitar is presented in the way it should be, a true badass. The opening fight scene between Pikachu and Crocodile during the title sequence was really good. I liked how fluid it was, pun intended. Suicune was pretty fun to see. And honestly, this movie's not as bad as I kept making it out to be during the summary. It's a lot of you're gonna have fun watching this. What else? The wind-up Pokeball was a really interesting idea. I wish they had elaborated more on. That would have been really something really interesting. The fact we get to see like a younger Professor Oak and find out why he made the Pokedex was pretty interesting. Or rather, what led up to him deciding the Pokedex was a good idea. The themes, all the songs in the movie are pretty good. Even the especially the ending song, Celebi RAT, which is just celebrate. It's a really addicting song to listen to. While it's not as like soothing or serenadic. Serenadic, is that a word? Yeah, it's a word now. As the Japanese ending song, it's still pretty good, and it's everyone who watched the movie remembers this song. Now onto the negatives. Okay, right, like I said during the review, I kept making fun of the whole evil Pokemon thing. Yeah, that doesn't make any sense. You hack a Pokemon up to level 100, make it evil. That's just a ripoff of the freaking Pokemon Coliseum and XD Gale Darkness Shadow Pokemon gimmick. I'm pretty sure that must have been intentional, just to go, hey, check out our advertisement for Shadow Pokemon, since you can't actually get them in the freaking games normally. And while it was an interesting concept, the way he has a Pokemon that controls time, the Iron Mask Marauder's plan makes no sense. You have a time-traveling Pokemon. Why not instead of, go back in time right away and just snuff Giovanni, like either after he made Team Rocket, or, when he's just a baby and start Team Rocket yourself. Or G, I don't know, you can taking over the world seems like too much work, man. You have a Celebi that can go through time. Just snuff the man before he becomes a threat. Wait till he establishes Team Rocket and then kill him. Your plan makes no sense. And you're making a giant freaking twig monster? What are you doing with that? Your Pokemon controls time. Where is it in his job description where he's like, oh yeah, let me just blow shit up? Doesn't make any sense. Suicune is alright. It's a little frustrating that he's kind of like delegated to a side role in the sense of, oh, I'm just kind of here to give Ash and Sam a ride. Basically, that's what it is. He damages Tyranitar a little bit, but ultimately he's just giving a ride. And again, this establishes that stupid pattern that's going to be repeated over and over again, where the cute legendary Pokemon is going to be Ash and Friends' best friend, buddy, and then suddenly it becomes evil. Or it dies, quote unquote, and then it comes back all happy-go-lucky, and then it's really happy and sad, and they give the goodbye farewell. It's a pattern that's going to be repeated from here on out. Here's a couple movies, just to name a few. Jirachi, Victini, frickin' Shaman, Zorua, even though Zorua and Zoroark are not legendaries. Frickin' Victini, Keldeo, motherfucking Diancie, Hoopa. It's a pattern that's repeated over and over again, and we get sick of it every time. It's just not a good pattern. Not to mention the fact that it's just the pattern is annoying. And while, yes, you can enjoy this movie all you want, it's a guilty pleasure more than a good movie. Which is why, overall, I'm giving this movie a 4 out of 10. 4 for forever. Forever mediocre. This is an alright movie, and it was one of the last ones in theaters. So watch it if you at your own risk. This is the Honest Woobat. See you guys next time.